Hi and welcome to another instalment of Gender Mender with me, Darren DOG. Today we go for the big one. What is gender? Let's get this nailed down so we can carry on our conversation. Now there's different nuances to how gender expresses itself, and we will get into them in all the various little episodes I'm going to do for you. But today we're going to do the most basic, which is about how we already have perfect, and I do mean perfect, gender language already in English, and we already use it perfectly to denote the gender in question. It's just most people don't know it's gender language. And once you get this under your tool belt, once you get this, oh my goodness, is your gender navigation life and your relationship life going to be so much easier. I mean so much easier. So let's get on with it. So our universe is electromagnetic in nature, and relationships throughout the universe are governed by the forces of electromagnetism, closeness, distance, attraction, repulsion. All of these things are electromagnetic, and the way that it manifests in the human form is in our gender. Now, within each of us, the masculine is the electrical component. So the electrical is the masculine, and the magnetic is the feminine. Let me say that again. The masculine within you is the electrical, and the magnetic is the feminine. So ladies, this is why you have to deal with the energy of attraction. Whether you like it or not, you will have attraction generally being part of the battle that you're going to face in life. And men, you're going to have to deal with the issue of charge, which is a charge that moves through you on a cycle similar to the menstrual cycle but on a different rhythm. But you will have to deal with times when you can take charge, which is when you can handle the charge, the electric charge that moves through you. And there are times when you're going to really struggle with that, when you're in the ebb of your charge cycle. But within all of us, all energies to do with charge are masculine. So anybody in charge, whether they be a man or a woman, is in the masculine role. This isn't sexist because it doesn't matter which sex you are. This is about gender. Now the thing about the masculine is always about change and the new. And the feminine is about state and form. And this is why we refer to objects and planets and things as she's. It's because the form and matter is feminine. In fact, the Latin word mater for mother comes from matter, which is about the form. And in a way, not in a way, realistically speaking, we are built in a fractal representation of this universal truth. So women are born with all of the follicles that will become their eggs. They have a fixed state in their form. There is no new follicles for any woman once she has been born. Those follicles will mature into eggs and be passed in menstruation or as children. Men, on the other hand, and just to finish on that point of women also have really, it's very difficult to tell whether a woman is aroused or not. Okay, you might be able to see something on the nipples or something like that if she's got a tight t-shirt on, but otherwise you can't really know just by looking at her whether a woman is in an aroused sensual or sexual state or not. She seems to have a bit of a static form in that respect. Men, on the other hand, are completely different. Men have two states to their sexuality, and they have no sperm when they are born. And in fact, they are making new sperm all the time as a biological process. And this is a representation of this newness that masculinity brings. And similarly, men will have two states to their sexuality. There's the flaccid form, which is essentially when they are in their feminine. And then they have their erect form, which is when they have a point to make. And that is when there is a bit of charge moving through them. So, for all of us, so men and women now, because we all have masculine and the feminine in us, whenever we have the charge for change building up in us, whether that be in anger, sadness, outrage, whatever it is, this is the masculine. Whether you're a man or a woman, it is the masculine. And it is the energy of, I want the world to be different. Whenever we're angry and whenever we're sad, it's because we wanted the world to be different. That's all it is. It just expresses itself in many different ways. And because a lot of us lack dexterity in our emotions, and we don't know how to temper the masculine energy, it can come out as spasmic points, spasmic outbursts, which can sometimes be harmful to others, whether you're a man or a woman. This is one of the qualities of the masculine, of the electrical. The electrical can both give life and take it away, which is the very charge that men have to carry for our species. The feminine, on the other hand, is the energy of acceptance, receptivity and tolerance. And we all have that in us as well. And there are times when it is appropriate to be accepting and receiving, and there are times when it is appropriate to not accept. And it is the careful wielding of the genders, of the electrical and the magnetic, that will determine whether you are successful or not in bringing about the changes that your charge drives you to bring. And the only way in which you can become effective as a human being with your charge for change is if you learn to temper the masculine energy within you, whether you are a man or a woman. It doesn't matter, because the feminine in all of us is accepting. And that's why if you go to any spiritual clubs or anything like that, spiritual traditions, whatever you want to call it, they're all going to tell you to accept the perfection of the now, accept the perfection of your life as it is right now. Look at how perfect the world is, which, you know, you can actually taste, because we can all taste the acceptance of where we are right now. We can taste how things are just so right now, until we move from that state and we're like, but it'd be nice if there was more money in the bank. It'd be nice if children weren't being bombed and raped. It'd be nice if this wasn't happening. It'd be nice if this wasn't happening. Blah, 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 blah. And what we have is the coexistence of our acceptance and our desire for change. And we have to resolve the balance of these two if we are to achieve mastery of ourselves and of our gender. Now the thing is, and the problem we have in the world is that people don't realise that these are the masculine and the feminine energies manifesting as electromagnetism within them. And we have so many people charged up waiting to make points, claiming that they are battling a bullying masculinity when they are that bullying masculinity. They have forgotten that once you have made your point, you stop to receive, whether it has been heard or not. And the problem is, men have had much longer at learning to temper the masculine like that, temper that charge within them. And so that is why now men are much more in an accepting and feminine state, while we have women who are very new to this charge energy, who are running amok a little bit, not knowing how to temper their point making, and not realising that this is the very reason why, no matter how much change happenings, they're still not satisfied. And it's because they don't know how to temper the masculine. But anyway, I didn't mean to go that far into the nuances of the masculine and the feminine on this little introductory video. No, indeed. In this little introductory video, I just wanted to introduce the language of the fact that it is electromagnetism which is expressing as gender. The electrical is masculine, the feminine is magnetic, the masculine is point making and charge taking and line drawing, and the feminine is accepting and receiving. So you see, whenever you seek to bring a change, you will always be wielding the masculine, no matter how you feel about men or women in your life. And whenever you are accepting and enjoying and receiving the now, you are always in the feminine. There are no exceptions to this. It is a natural law. And similarly, the beauty we have in our English language is that our electromagnetic language of our interactions is a perfect representation of the gender, and I mean perfect. It's flawless, it's seamless, it's beautiful, it's uninvented, it's uncontrived, it's not a new model you have to learn. You already use the language perfectly, which is who's in charge, who's got a point, because let's remember, men make points. That's their thing that points out. That's in the masculine role. And when we talk about capacity in situations which are intense, this is electrically speaking. Do you have the capacity to take charge in emotional situations? This is gender. And when we talk about resistance, this is what happens when change in states meet each other, and it requires gender dexterity to have the capacity to stand in resistance with people as you make new points and take new charges and use your charge energy for change to take things in a new direction. There is much more to this electromagnetic language, but it doesn't take long to learn, and once you've got it, it just makes life so much easier, because you can suddenly see when is it appropriate to actually stop and receive because somebody else has got quite an admirable charge going on right now, or when is it appropriate to actually take charge of a situation because you are moved by the narrative before you and you want to help change the story and demonstrate some authority. This is all gender. I hope there's been some use within this for you. See you next time. If you like this and want to have a bit more, you can always get in touch with me for a one-to-one or a couple session, or get me along to speak to your group or school or class. I'd be happy to delve deeply into these subjects beyond these little introductions that we cover in these videos. If you'd like to see more of these kind of videos coming along, please feel free to support me over on the Patreon page, and otherwise I wish you well on your journey to gender mastery.